let's get into the Sunday Night Football slate, which is Miami Dolphins going to LA, going to SoFi, and they'll be playing here. They're 3.5-point favorites on the road. The total is 51. The freaks come out at night. So who you going with to have a freak performance in the captain spot?
I'm going with Justin Herbert here. It looks like Mike Williams could return this week, which would be the first time all season Justin Herbert will have all of his weapons at his disposal. Plus, this should be, a shootout. You said the total is 51.5 now. Should be a pass-heavy game script for the Chargers here. They're facing a pass funnel defense. The Dolphins ranked 23rd against the pass in DVOA and 9th against the run. So they're just going to lean on Herbert here. And we've actually seen him use his rushing ability a little bit more the past few weeks. He had that rib injury earlier in the season, so I think that definitely limited his mobility. He wasn't scrambling as much, but he's cleared 15 or more rushing yards in the last, past 3 of 4 games. So he is locked and loaded as a, top 5 quarterback this week. And I think this is the perfect spot to use him as a captain because he has so many weapons. He's going to be able to spread it around. That makes more sense to use a quarterback in the captain slot when that's the case.
Yeah, I like it. Herbert, they play a lot of man coverage in Miami, so he's going to get some opportunities for big plays with all those guys healthy now. So should be a relatively high scoring game. The total's been sitting there above 50. And remember, it's a low scoring year. I think the average total this year is 43.8, which is down a little bit from what we've seen the past few years. So the fact that this total is chilling above 50, no real weather concerns, obviously. So should be a good one for fantasy DFS. I am going with Tyreek, the freak. Have a freak performance. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, no,
it's kind of the obvious guy, but I love the matchup here because again, LA plays the lowest rate, of zone coverage in the league, and Tyreek Hill is 6th in the entire league in yards per route run versus man coverage. I mean, he's great against all coverages, but obviously he can just run away from defenders and man coverage. Maybe the Chargers switch it up, but he's also great against zone. But either way, if they do play man, I'm just salivating here with Tyreek. I love the bounce back spot, and he's had a bunch of these just 10 catch game, 150-yard games. So especially on DraftKings, he could get you that 3-point bonus. Just a lot of different. He could get you the full PPR. You could get 10 extra points per reception. So I really like Tyreek this week. Like Tua as well, though. Kind of which going along with your Herbert call. Tua's got a lot of weapons too, and good matchup for him. And for some reason, sharps just seem to be hammering the Dolphins. I don't quite get it. It was the line is. I think we tracked 14 sharp moves on the Dolphins, and the line, went past 3. It's 3.5 at a lot of books now. So I guess people are expecting a bounce back for Tua. So I wouldn't hesitate to play him in the captain spot either.
Yeah, I'm obviously not going to argue against Tyreek Hill. He has the clearest path to a ceiling game here. That's what we're looking for in the cap slot. He has 6 games of more than 140 receiving yards. He's pretty good at football.
Pretty good.
And Jalen Waddle's banged up, so he could see even more targets.
Yeah, Waddle is practicing, so hopefully it's not that serious. But I think that kind of plays into your dart throw. So he got
So I'm going with Trent Sherfield here from the Dolphins, and he's been their clear number 3 wide receiver. He typically runs route on 70% of Tua's dropbacks. Doesn't matter much. This is a very top-heavy offense. Tua is going to be targeting Tyreek and Waddle very heavily when they're both healthy. But, Sherfield was able to break loose for a 75-yard touchdown catch last week. So when teams, overcommit to both of these top 2 stud receivers, it could open things up for Sherfield. So, Jalen Waddle, he's returned to practice, but he could be somewhat limited. Either way, I think Sherfield's the way to go here. Chargers ranked 14th in DVOA against number 1 receivers, 2nd against number 2 receivers, and 30th against all of the receivers. So it probably doesn't matter, but it probably also doesn't hurt Sherfield. So again, on a site like this with just a bunch of elite options, he is certainly my favorite dart throw from the Dolphins side. And then the Chargers side, again, we're scraping at the bottom of the barrel here. I think, it's hard to consider most Charger players a dart throw, but he is certainly one. And he is the clear number 2 back right now. I mean, he dominated any snaps that didn't go to Austin Eckler last week. He saw 7 carries for 30 yards. So, sometimes the Chargers do like to get the backup involved to kind of limit Eckler, at least in short yard situations. So this is a game where maybe Kelly sneaks in for a goal line score. That's really what we're rooting for here. So on the Chargers side, it's pretty thin when it comes to dart throw options, but I think Kelly's the way to go.
Yeah, it looked like he kind of got eased in his first game back. He split work with the Spiller, and then last game, we pretty much didn't see Spiller at all. So it's always been tough to peg this Charger backfield one week to the next, but I think they kind of decided on Kelly a few weeks back, and then he got hurt. But It seems like they're still trying to roll with him as the main backup. I'm going with Mike Gesicki on the Dolphins, and he is a dart throw because he only ran around on 22% of the dropbacks last week and had that drop that pretty much ended the Dolphins' hopes. The review play, but when I'm looking at this matchup, and you kind of mentioned it, it's tough. Both of these teams, it's kind of tough. They're very top heavy, but Gesicki's third on the Dolphins in targets against man coverage, and it's not really that close. So I think they may ask him to, try to win against a linebacker, safety a couple of times here. And I think you may see his role expand for this game. And the Chargers are also 23rd in DVOA against tight ends, for what it's worth. I know Gesicki is kind of more of a glorified slot receiver, so I don't know how much that actually comes into play, but I do think the matchup's good here. And I do think that his role will expand again, and we should, see people kind of off of him after he really hasn't been productive all year. I mean, that whatever that happened in the preseason, and they were talking about he needed to play better in this offense, or block better to play a role in this offense. That was a definite warning sign, red flag, and he hasn't panned out at all. But I throw a dart at him in this matchup.
Yeah, no, it makes sense because, I was right to kind of move him outside my top 20 when those reports were coming out that, he just wasn't a good fit for this scheme. They were even considered trading him. He struggled because of that, but he's very talented. He's one of the better pass catching tight ends in the league. So yeah, if he gets opportunities here, he'll cash in. Do you have any clue why he only ran route 22% of the time last week? Was he blocking? Was it an injury? I haven't seen what happened to that. But
question. Let me check his blocking.
And Durhan Smythe, while you look that up, he almost doubled the routes run. He had 38% last week, and he is actually on the injury report. He got banged up last week. He's limited with, it looks like, a quad and knee injury. So if he's ruled out, we could see Gesicki go up towards 65% routes run rate. And if he ever gets there, then I'm interested. But that's just a huge red flag, as Gesicki only ran right 22% of the time last week. So
yeah, I think I know what's going on here. He did not. He only played 9 snaps. 8 of them came on pass plays.
Not good.
He didn't block at all on pass plays. But I think I get it. You're playing. You had no tackles. You're playing one of the best defensive lines in football. You need Smythe to chip. Gesicki, again, that was the whole issue with him in the preseason. Not a great blocker, not a great chipper. If he's kind of doing that, he doesn't really get into his route the same way. He's more of a guy that wants to line up in the slot and get that free release right into his route. So that makes perfect sense given the matchup. But the Chargers, Joey Bosa, I haven't seen him in months now. So Chargers aren't getting the same kind of pressure.
Yeah.
So I do think that maybe you don't see him go back up to 70%, but right. I could see, the 50s or even the 60s for him this week, kind of go back to his normal role.
Yeah, especially if Armstead returns this week. Obviously, Austin Jackson's out; he's on the IR. But if Armstead returns, that would make sense that they could utilize Gesicki just a bit more.
Yeah, and that's a good point though, because if both of the tackles are ruled out, you might see Smythe again. And he would be worth a dart throw in that scenario because he would just get more snaps. For the Chargers, so Gerald Everett's not really a dart throw, but I gotta mention him. Miami plays the fourth most man coverage, as I mentioned, and Everett's up at over 2.4 yards per route against man, trails only Mike Williams on the team. So I think he has a great matchup in this spot. The Miami Dolphins are 29th in DVOA against tight ends, but and for a true dart throw, I think a pivot is Stone Smart. He is kind of playing over Trey McKitty these days. I know they designated Parham to return, but I think if Parham comes back, they might just deactivate Richard Rodgers, who's they've been activating 4 tight ends and only 4 wide receivers. So I think Smart is going to continue to get playing time here, and he ran around on 23% of the dropbacks last week. That was up from 11% the week before, so it almost doubled. And he's only seen 4 targets this year so far. He's only played in a couple games, but 3 of them have come against man coverage. And remember, most defenses are only playing man, 20-30% of the time. So the fact that they've gone to him a few times in single coverage tells me that he could play a role in this game, because Miami loves to blitz, and you're going to get some single coverage for your receivers, pass catchers, tight ends, all those guys. So Stone Smart is my dart throwing. Also, great name.
Yes, exactly. And we have some quality fullbacks on this slate, I might add.
Yeah, Alec Ingold is ranked higher than like a bunch of actual running backs in my ranking.
Yeah.
I had to do a double take. I was like, wait, Alec Ingold is RB 58. Who is he? Kyle Check.
Well, there's like 14 teams on a bye this week, but yeah.
Still 58 is pretty good for a fullback. But yeah, so love Ingold. He's running around about 30% of the time, and not that I really expect him to do a ton against man coverage, but even these two teams who play man at a high rate, we're still talking about 40-50% tops that they're going to play man coverage. So when they get some zone, I think Ingold could catch a few balls, just given how much he's been on the field as of late. And they'll probably keep using him because they're still having issues at the tackle position, as you mentioned. I like Ingold. And what do you think about Horvath? What did he score in the first? Was it the first game, second game? Scored.
I believe it was the first game, right? And then nothing since. So the Chargers have just so many options that I can't go there. Weeks 1 and 2, he scored a rushing touchdown.
Yep. Receiving. So those 2 catches, both catches.
Oh yeah. Receiving touchdown. Yeah. So, defenses have figured that, potentially they'll use him. So I'm not on him, but I do like Ingold. I consider him Kyle Juszczyk East. He is essentially that role in this offense. It's the same scheme. Plus, it looks like they're using Mostert a little bit more. He doesn't see as many targets as Jeff Wilson when he does run a route. Neither running back really sees many targets. So that could just mean more for Ingold. He doesn't even need a touchdown to really hit in a showdown slate. He is capable of catching 3, maybe 4 passes. He's done it twice this year. So he is the rare fullback where I consider him a pretty good play. He's not even a dart throw, in my opinion. So anytime Ingold is on a showdown slate, I throw some lineups in there with him.
He's got 9 targets over the past 3 games and 8 catches. He's got 2 4-target games in the last 3. So his usage has absolutely been trending upward. What about the luck rankings for this game?
So the Dolphins have been the 9th luckiest team, and Chargers rank 18th. That's a luck ranking differential of 9. I would just say cap this game straight up. There isn't a big enough gap to really say, you should back the Chargers here. Plus, the Dolphins did have a few games without Tua. They're a much different team when Tua is healthy. So this is a game that I wouldn't suggest, betting on because of the luck rankings.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because, like I said, seems to be a lot of sharp action on the Dolphins. My boy Stuckey took the Chargers in this spot, so it's kind of an odd line. You see the 3.5, and you'd think people would jump on the Chargers, but the game game script perspective, Eckler doesn't really need a positive game script, and the Dolphins are kind of platooning their 2 running backs anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you have Corey Linsley. I don't know if he's going to play, right? He's questionable. And then you have the rest of the right side of their line with Pipkins and Zion Johnson are questionable. So, I mean, they could have a cluster of injuries on their offensive line. Derwin James is nicked up right now. That's never good to see. So it could be just, initial injury report, things like that. But I agree. I think just seeing the Dolphins over 3 is kind of interesting here. But if the Sharps are hitting that, there's got to be something going on. But I haven't seen it yet. But this is something I'm going to wait to kind of gauge. Like once we see the injury report after Friday or Saturday for the Chargers, then we'll have a better idea.
Yeah, I mean the Chargers, they play the same game every time. It doesn't really matter who's hurt, who's not. They're gonna lose by 3. Right?
But I mean the offensive line
1 or 2, because
the offensive line is definitely an issue last week. Chandler Jones had by far the best game he's had as a Raider. He had 11 pressures. So they do need this offensive line to have at least 2 of these guys active. So that's probably what the Sharps are looking at, if I had to guess.